Good evening, everybody. It is Steve with Real Progressives. It is almost 11 o'clock at night. It is very, very late. We're getting ready to get hit with a big old storm out here in Pennsylvania. Tonight, we're going to talk about the candidates. And we're not going to talk about any one specific one. We're going to talk about all of them. Because when we go into these political races, you know, for years, haven't you sat there and you watched as these people filed for office? You got excited, you bought your t-shirt, you went out and got your button, your special button that said vote for so-and-so. And then you went ahead and got your little yard sign that says, you know, vote for so-and-so for sheriff, or vote for so-and-so for county commissioner, or vote for so-and-so for Senate. You know, and then of course you get your big presidential banner that you put in the front yard too. Make sure all your neighbors don't want to talk to you for the next 6 months, whatever. Point is that every one of us has fought in our own weird way for a candidate at some point in time. You know, we've all gotten excited. We've all wanted to see them get elected. And as long as they've been around, as long as we've been alive, not one of us has seen any significant legislation. And, you know, I'm almost 50 years old, and I can assure you there has been no significant legislation that has been passed in our lifetime that you could literally sit there and say, yes, we won. Yes, we won. And, you know, for all the hubbub about the ACA, you know, the ACA was, you know, I'm sure it's helped some people. It's hurt a lot of people. And ultimately, it's not the long-term answer. But this right here, that's about as big of a victory. It's about as big of a victory as any of us have seen. And for me, I say to myself, I'm like, why am I going to get involved in politics? Why am I going to support any politicians? Why do I even want to talk politics, right? And for you, whoa, hey, yo, that went more. Sorry about that. It was my banner there, holding it up, dropped it right out. We close that up. So anyway, bottom line. For years, I have fallen into the, you know, getting excited at election time, going around, supporting candidates, phone banking for them, fundraising, going out there knocking doors, talking to anybody that I could, doing social media sharing, whatever, man. Anything I could to help these candidates. I really, really crushed it for Bernie as much as I could. I worked my ass off for Ron Paul too, right? So, you know. But I also worked hard for Governor Wolf here in Pennsylvania. I did a lot of, I really got swept up in this stuff. And over again, I am consistently feeling like, what the hell did I just do? Why did I do this? I wasted so much of my life supporting candidates that have absolutely not a clue how to do a damn thing. I mean, seriously. I mean, for real, for real. And when you talk to them, you know, it's like, I am so grateful for people that have the courage to run for office. Let me say that before we go any further. It's like the person that's afraid to sing in choir because they're afraid somebody will hear them make a mistake. But then that one person goes, I don't care if I sound like shit, I'm going to go ahead and sing anyway. And you're like, please don't sing. Please don't sing. But you're grateful. You're grateful, I guess, in your own way that they had the courage to sing, right? Your kids, they have a terrible voice, but you don't want to tell them they have a terrible voice, so you let them go, and you still cheer them on, right? Well, the thing is that I've gotten to a different spot with politics. I've gotten to a point now where I feel like it is our duty to not just get people elected. Getting people elected is, you know, it's hard enough on its own. But imagine pouring all that work into getting a candidate elected that genuinely can't get shit accomplished. You know, because I don't fall in love with candidates just because. I fall in love with the candidate because they say, I am going to legalize marijuana, period. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to campaign and I'm going to fight to legalize marijuana. And I'm like, that guy's got it going on. I'm going to support him. Or someone else comes out there and says, I am absolutely going to fight tooth and nail to get green energy, period. You know, I'm going to make sure that we are away from fossil fuels, and we will make this happen. Now, I'm at a point now where I understand that many of these people are going to say that to me. They're going to say it to me because that's the going line, right? That's the script. They're all going to say about 10 different things. They're all going to say about 10 different things. And they're going to say the same 10 different things. They might say it slightly differently, but they're going to say the same 10 different things. My ears are like desensitized. You can whisper in them, you can nibble my earlobe, and it goes nowhere, man. It's like it takes a lot more to get this engine revving, you know? You got to do more than just tickle my ears with progressive lingo. And so, you know, when you have anyone that says that they're going to do something, and you look and you say, where's the carrot and the stick, right? How do I know you're going to do this? And I don't know, have you ever had a chance to just talk to a politician before someone running for office? Number one, they're extremely careful not to say anything that they could get misquoted about. Number two, they're not very candid, and when they are candid, they get crucified. So a lot of them are very, very scared to say anything that, you know, isn't going to, you know, mesh well with the print media, the whatever media. I mean, I can tell you right now, there have been clips of me doing my live streams where I'm caught mid-thing. It's like, you know, face like that. And then people make a meme. They like, screen cap, let's go. Yeah, and there's the screen cap, right? And then they make some stupid meme about it, and they try and trash me. Do you want to follow this guy? Something like that. And they do it to candidates too, right? I mean, they do the same shit to candidates too. So they got it coming from 1,000 different angles. But at the end of the day, you just want your health care, right? You're not going to be hanging out with them. You're not BFFs with these politicians. They aren't heroes. They aren't saviors. So you want your health care. You want your free college. You want to make sure that your kids' student debts are taken care of. By the way, I'm going for the Red Bull here. And you want to make sure on top of that, that you have somebody who's saying, you know what, I'm not going to war unless it's a last resort. You want some specific things. That's what you want. You don't really care about the candidate. You don't really care that they're a good-looking guy or a good-looking girl or what school they went to or whatever. What you care about is when it comes time for them to vote, when it comes time for them to talk amongst other candidates, that they can sell their ideas too, right? That they can negotiate with other politicians, okay? So let's just say hypothetically you elect, I don't know, a random Green or a random Independent or a random Democrat. And those people, they say all the things you want them to say, but do they have a persuasive speech? Are they able to convince people of things? Are they able to talk about what it takes to actually get things done? Or are they going to just go ahead with whatever I'm a junior senator, I'm a junior congressman, I can't really have a position on this, I'm going to have to go with the herd, right? Or are they just going to be cantankerous and just vote against everything and say, see, I voted against everything? I mean, I don't find politics to be very, very inspiring. I don't find politics to be remotely, I don't even consider it to be noble anymore. I consider it to be a necessary evil, and I consider it to be playing with the devil, because quite frankly, I don't see anyone literally holding the line and fighting. I see everybody taking the easy way out or going with the herd. And back to the original point I was making about this, what you see most oftentimes is that we get nothing accomplished. Every single solitary thing is about not letting the other guy win. Not letting the other guy win. And who always wins? The people that always win are the Republicans. Even when you don't think they're winning. Because Republicans make the left diminish their desires. The Republicans make the left not ask for too much. The Republicans make people feel like they can't do big things. So they instead dumb shit down, and you get nothing once again. It doesn't matter, period. So you get your rogue person in there, feels good. What did they accomplish? What did they accomplish? Most likely, not a damn thing. Honestly, most likely they accomplished absolutely nothing. Many of these people have no idea how to write a bill. Many of them have no legal background. Many of them have no idea even what the law says. So how are they writing legislation? Actually, they're probably not. So who is writing legislation, right? Who are these people that are writing legislation? It's these think tanks. It's these other groups out there that are parallel shadow groups that write this stuff up for them, hand it to them, and then they run around and say, hey, this is the bill I support. And so think about this. Ask yourself, you're running as a green, or you see a green out there. What is that one green doing for you? What is that one Bernie crat doing for you? Is it just a guaranteed yes vote for whatever the party says? Or is it just an automatic no vote because they have to be cool and edgy and, they got to burn it down? What exactly are you getting with that one thing? So I come back to this every time someone asks me, why aren't you working hard, Steve, to elect people? Why aren't you out there running around working hard to get people elected? And I'll tell you why. Because the powers that be, the ones that write the laws, the ones that are in the ear of these new politicians that have never written a bill in their life, that are just deciding for the first time they're going to go ahead and run for office and, whatever. These think tanks and these other groups that write these laws for them. We have to influence people outside of the political process. We have got to influence the people. And we've got to influence them to demand more. And so, pardon me, I'm sure this will upset people. I don't care, because I'm in the business of trying to save lives, not make you feel good. So in my mind, I look and I say, okay, so we elect 10 Greens next year. What did you do for me? Is that some symbolic gesture to get the green wave rolling? I mean, what exactly is it that we're getting with that win? What is it that we're getting with that win? Tell me what we're getting with that win. I'm telling you right now, if we as a movement, hear me out, play with me, ride with me on this one. If we as a movement look people straight in the eye and give them the dead stare, that cold stare that says, I don't really care. This is what we want. This is what we demand. And this is what we need. And we're not going away till we get it. Okay? I don't care. Quote me, Washington Post. Quote me, Los Angeles Times. Quote me, HuffPost and Young Turks and whoever. I don't care. I am a citizen and I'm fighting for my children, my family, my whatever. Okay? I'm not fighting for your party. I'm not fighting for your party. I don't care about your party. I care about my family. Parties, here's what parties do. Parties say, well, we got to make everybody happy. Well, we got to make certain people happy. So the people that have a real understanding of what needs to be done, and they're smarter than the average bear, and they've done their homework, they're pushed to the side because they're too smart for the party's good, and they cater to the dullards that just want to be part of something. They cater to the people that just want to be a part of something. And that right there is the sweet spot, which means nothing's getting done. So in my mind, our job is to get together as people, not as parties, as people. Talk to one another. Tell each other, I want free health care. I want green energy yesterday, and I don't care if we've got to subsidize corporations for a minute to get all their smokestacks retrofitted to green energy or whatever. I don't care. I want to live on a planet more than I want to be right about them bad corporations. I want the planet to survive a little bit more than burning it down, okay? I'm a little bit more of a grown-up than a teen angst. Hey, dude, you know what I'm saying? If you don't, trust me, you should listen on this one. So as we sit there and we talk about fighting for these candidates, I'm constantly told, well, Steve, people don't understand MMT. They don't understand modern monetary theory. Well, if we get rid of that word, throw it out. Throw the word modern monetary theory to the curb. And we just say, do you understand economics? Do you understand how to finance your fucking laws? Do you understand how to fight for the citizens in your district so that they're not paying higher taxes for things when it is completely unnecessary? Do you know how to take care of the people that you represent and pass the legislation? Because the Republicans, you know, those bastards over there, you know, those guys, they've already signed the Norquist pledge saying that they will not raise taxes, not one penny. And they have a billy club waiting with them to make sure that if one of those sons of bitches raises taxes, they will primary the shit out of them, and they will ensure that they're a one-termer, that they're gone, that they're out of there. Now, that right there, between Norquist, the Tea Party, you name it, they made the Republican Party sicker than it was, but they made it responsive to what they wanted. We on the left keep going into electoral politics. We keep thinking, man, oh man, if we just get some slob up there elected, some frickin' slob, or some sweet talker that couldn't econ their way out of a paper bag, but they say the right things, damn it. Oh yes, I stand for education. Of course, my candidacy is all about education. Can you give me 2 plus 2? What does 2 plus 2 equal, Mrs. Education, Mr. Education? This is no joke. These are the people you're putting in office. Forget the establishment. You're putting knuckleheads in there. Dodo birds. How in the world do you expect to get anything done? Seriously, how do you expect to get anything done? If they think that they are the green energy candidate and they don't understand how to pay for green energy, they are wasting your time. They are wasting your money campaigning for them. If they cannot pay for their programs because they don't want to learn, or they don't know, or they just go in there, man, I just have such great ideas, I just really think I can do this, and we don't teach them, and they're resistant to learning, then they are not doing you 1 ounce of good, and they're not doing me or my family an ounce of good either. I tell you this as someone who really, truly would like to see a progressive revolution. But a progressive revolution has certain consequences to it. When you're in power, when you sweep into power, because the cyclical nature of politics pushes the other party through, and you don't achieve anything but a bunch of revenge tactics against the other party, because that's what worthless people do, then all you have is heaping scorn waiting for you because you've accomplished absolutely nothing. Now, if you know Republicans, and I know Republicans, I once was one, then you know that not all Republicans are crazy, gun-hugging, lunatic fringe people. You know, some of them just simply can't stand Nancy Pelosi. Hey, guess what? I can't stand her either. You can't stand Nancy Pelosi, right? I mean, seriously, you can't stand Dianne Feinstein, can you? Tell the truth, you can't stand them. And you're a lefty, right? You're a progressive, and you just cannot stand these people. You can't stand Claire McCaskill. I mean, when you realize this, when you realize that you can't stand these people either, and Republicans are saying, I can't stand them, you start to realize that maybe some of this battle is a pitched battle. Now, mind you, there's crazies, and they elevate these crazies to the forefront for political reasons. But when we start talking about a progressive revolution, don't forget Teddy Roosevelt was the original Bull Moose Progressive Revolution, the Progressive Party. And Teddy Roosevelt was a right-winger. He was a Republican. Now, I'm telling you this because progressivism is about forward progress. It's about truth. It's about doing for the people. And when people try to co-opt the term because it makes for easy media, it doesn't give us what we want. It gives us a false positive. Anybody can say they're a progressive, right? Even Hillary lied and said she was a progressive. She said she was a progressive who got things done. And then you've got these younger people who bond together at these meet and greets and stuff like that, talking wax and poetic about the revolution that they're not going to be in. And they're just, marching, yeah. And all the energy that gets sucked out of these one-offs, once again, nothing. More nothing. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So, I want to talk a bit about that, okay? When you look at what we've talked about for the last, 40 fucking years, right? For 40 years, back to Lyndon Johnson even, you had the Great Society. You had all kinds of big dreams going on. And then guess what happened? The OPEC crisis hit. And all of a sudden, Milton Friedman made everyone scared to death of doing for the people. He's been thoroughly discredited and thoroughly debunked and everything else, but he still lingers. He's a malingerer. He's a scoffer. Okay? He's a dead scoffer, but he's a scoffer nonetheless. A scoffer at the public purpose. And almost every bit of the economics that Republicans and Democrats talk to is based in scoffer logic from Milton Friedman. Scoffer logic. Where it's like, you can't do that. How are you going to pay for it? So what did these scoffers do? These scoffers went ahead in 2011, I think, passed this thing called PAYGO. Okay? PAYGO is another fiscal rule that some moron that doesn't understand economics put in there, saying that all new spending had to be revenue neutral, basically. So here we are now. We got a whole bunch of noobs coming in wanting to run for office, and none of them understand the history. None of them really understand economics, and none of them know how to write a fucking bill. None of them do. Yeah, they're a malingerer. I mean, I swear on my life, this has got to become about efficacy at some point, right? So, in my mind, stay with me now. The only way this is going to change is A, each one teach one. That's you and I going out and telling a friend and telling a friend and so on and so on. Number two is, while we tell a friend, we also have to build relationships and build networks that are not founded in conspiracy junk that we can't act on, but are founded on a series of small-scale principles that we can unite many, many people with. And that we can all push that huge push, that monster push, to making them bend to our will. Because number three, while I don't want to burn it down, and I certainly don't want to see any kind of bloodshed, the one thing that these people can't handle is civil unrest. And I'm not talking about burning fucking buildings down and blowing up cars and stupid stuff like that. Don't be a moron. But I am saying this. Why not occupy a senator's office? Why not occupy a town hall? Why not build teams to go out and occupy, I don't know, stoplights in New York City and stand there with signs so everyone sees? Why not go to the main intersections in town, wherever you are, and put up a sign saying, we can afford a New Deal today? Just start planting seeds. Planting seeds. Dude, I'm too stuffed up to give you a good Rothschilds. Trust me, it's due though. It's been a while since I let one rip. But I don't think, let me see, hold on, let's see. Rothschild! Now, see, I'm all froggy and all screwed up. I can't quite pull the Slayer scream off right now. But I can drop an elbow of truth. I still got that going for me. But in any event, I want you all to understand that the real solution here is a mass movement. And I mean, like, it starts with just a couple of you. And if each one of you gets a couple more, and a couple more, and a couple more, you know, and each one, growing it out like that. Okay? If all of you, the problem is, and this is the worst part, I'm dead serious about this. Activists are terribly difficult to work with because they don't want to learn. They know everything. God damn it, activists know everything. They've never even done an economics class, but damn it, they're telling you about the Federal Reserve. They don't even know what the fuck a fractional reserve system is, but they want to end one. They don't even know what the gold standard actually was, but damn it if they don't want to bring it back. They don't understand that the federal government owns its unit of account, which is the U.S. dollar. They really dumbly believe that somehow or another it's the private banks that own the U.S. dollar because they're just activists. That's what activists do. Activists are going to be activists, right? Activists are going to be activists. So it takes people with thinking minds that are activists to get the other activists that just want to run off and do things. Hey, man, let's go boycott something. Damn it, I don't know what it's going to be, but let's do it. Damn it, it feels good. Let's do it. Focused efforts. Not 100 things, not scattered every time a news story comes out. Ignore the noise because more trash is coming your way. You know, there's going to be some bad news that comes out tomorrow morning. I don't know what it is, but if you open up your newspaper, the front page is going to be full of bad news. And if you follow it, you'll have something to talk about all day long. It'll be great. It'll be fun. Nothing will get done, but damn it, you'll feel like a winner. Go ahead, read the front page of your local paper and just talk about all the bad news all day. It'll be fun, I promise. Stay committed and focused to this subset of facts, these things that you must achieve to fix all these other problems. Most all the problems you see in the world stem from a few core problems. A few core problems. And most of them are economics. Most of them are economics. And so when people are saying really ridiculous things like, how come, the drug war is still going on? Well, because of economics. You've got companies out there producing little things, gadgets to test your blood, to see if you're using drugs. They want to means test you. They want to do all these things. So there's all this industry lined up to keep drugs illegal. And then you got Big Pharma that doesn't want it either. So you got all these factors lined up. None of it has to do with you or I. Not any of it has to do with protecting us. So you've got to stay the course and remember, the real deal here is making sure the economy works for all so that we have options. The only way to do that is for the federal government to spend money. But guess what? Almost the majority of people think somehow or another we got to cut spending and we got to reduce the deficit and we got to pay off the debt and we got to do all these things that have nothing to do with actually producing anything of merit or value for the people. None of it. So imagine this. This CFAR contract that Revolt Against Plutocracy has brought to real progressives. It's got some really good stuff in it. Really, 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 really good stuff in it, right? But let me ask you a question. How many of these candidates that are signing this pledge have any clue how to actually pay for any of those things? I mean, if you've ever seen the movie Mr. Woodcock, anybody seen the movie Mr. Woodcock? Every time I see one of these politicians come out there and talk about this stuff, I'm going to go, set of 10, Farley. Set of 10. Set of 10, Farley. I mean, seriously, I want to tell each of these candidates, set of 10. Get on there. Get doing those push-ups. Set of 10. Because they're not able to tell you how they're going to pay for it. And all the good news in the world, all the feelings, the good feelings in the world, all of it, are not going to get these programs paid for. And why is this important? Let's talk about why this is the most important thing we could talk about. Because again, we almost all agree on the issues. We want to end fracking. We want to go ahead and get rid of student debt. We want free college. We want to expand Social Security. We want Medicare for all. We want this. We want that. We want the other. But damn it, we don't know how to pay for it. And we can't answer the questions in debates. Have you listened to Bernie Sanders try to talk about how he's going to pay for his programs? Have you ever heard him try? Have you ever heard Jill Stein talk about it? It's like literally listening to nails down a chalkboard. They're going to raise taxes on this. We're going to have a Wall Street speculation tax. We're going to do this. Robert Reich. We're going to pay for it. We got it. We can't cut taxes. The country's bankrupt. Paul Krugman. We got to raise taxes. We got to. All of them, like nails down a chalkboard. And they're on our team. They're people that we love and revere and we would vote for and stuff like that. But they're out there talking about they're going to pay for it by raising taxes. All of them. So if you know this is crazy, if you know this is insanity, if you know this is economically illiterate, they are playing to you. To quote Arliss Bunny the other night, we kind of suck at our jobs, don't we? As media, as activists, as voters, we suck because we don't demand, we don't force them to do better. We don't tell them, if you get the pay-fors right, we will support you till the cows come home. Instead, you've got Jill over here fanning the flame. Well, we got to soak the rich. We got to eat the rich. You don't realize that the biggest tax you can put on the rich, think about this, follow me for a minute. If the biggest tax on the rich is making it so we, the little people, don't have to go into debt, so they don't get to collect interest on our debt, what bigger tax, what better way to eat the rich than to spend on the poor? What better way to eat the rich than to spend on the poor? Because so much of their money comes from speculation and from investments and from interest and from rents. They're not working for you. You can tax their income all day long And it doesn't matter because their income isn't the same kind of income that we tax on. We get a payroll tax. These guys are making rents. They're making all these other forms of income. And all they do when they do payroll tax increases is fuck the 99%. The regular people that collect a weekly paycheck. But how many activists want to eat the rich, not realizing the best way to eat the rich is to cut off the spigot and stop making us go into private debt and have the federal government spend on the people. And then you get the worthless ones that say, but that's just expanding capitalism. It's like, liar! That's not true. That's not true. We are literally providing for the people. Capitalism is they have to go out there and find it and compete for it and everything else. We're talking about giving the people money through programs, through having health care, through having free college, through having green energy so they have green jobs, through a federal job guarantee to eradicate unemployment forever. How many people do you know go into these terribly predatory loans because they're unemployed and they're afraid they're going to lose their home, they're afraid they won't keep the electric on, they're afraid their kids are going to go without. So they go ahead and take a really, really bad loan and then end up having to file bankruptcy or go to jail or any number of things. There's some guy named Louis going to break them off for the VIG, right? I mean, you want to cut the rich out? You want to really hurt the rich? Go ahead and spend on the poor. Because now the rich can't get rents like that. Now the poor have choices they can make. They're no longer slaves to the whims of the rich. But no, man. We got to soak the rich. Let's raise taxes. So let's raise taxes for a minute. This is what these candidates are doing. Federal taxes are deleted. Folks, they're purged from the system. They've done their life cycle. They were spent into existence. They're taxed out of existence. So raising taxes on the rich just takes money out of the economy. Literally just deletes more money out of the economy. Now, I'm not telling you not to tax the rich, but I'm telling you that that's not the first priority. And if it is, you're economically illiterate. The problem is over the last 40 years, our nation has made a commitment to making you and I keep the economy alive by going into private debt. By going into private debt, that is how this economy floats. And guess where private debt comes from? Private debt comes from banks. So when you hear the Coolios of the world out there going, well, how come so much money in the economy is bank money? How come it's bank money? Because you aren't fighting the correct fight. The correct fight is to eliminate the need for regular people to take out these loans and to help the people. Do you know what a bite out of neoliberalism it would have been had during the financial crisis, instead of bailing out the mortgage industry and the banks, we bailed out the homeowners that were underwater? You imagine what would have happened if we bailed out the homeowners instead of making them lose their homes? We literally bailed them out. You imagine how different our country would be right now? You imagine how many families wouldn't have broken up? So when a candidate tells you they're going to raise taxes to pay for stuff, think about what they're really doing. Think about the cause and effect of that. They haven't gotten you Medicare for all yet, but they're starting off before they even get there talking about raising taxes. They haven't even gotten the people taken care of yet, and they're already going for raising taxes. And then at the end, when they lose, they go, we fought the good fight. It was the Republicans' fault. The Republicans did it. It's the Republicans. And I'm here to tell you, the Republicans are bad. They're not good. But neither is the dipshit that doesn't know any better, that wants to raise taxes to pay for shit. One is just a dullard running around bouncing into walls with a fucking helmet on their head. And the other one is a stealth bomber sitting there sniveling. Evil man, I'm going to. Right? But the people are all trapped in this. We suffer. So when you hear these politicians telling you that they're going to give you free education, folks, I am all for free college. It is a fair question to know whether or not they understand economics. And the minute they're talking about raising taxes to pay for stuff, everything else is a moot point. They have literally given up the ghost. They literally don't understand. Now they're just pandering to your ignorance. They're pandering to populist ignorance. Is there any greater smear to populism than the ignorance it purports and presents and pushes forward? As much as I love populism, an ignorant populace leveraging populism is no way to live, my friends. What's that thing they said to, the Dean Warden said to Blutarsky in Animal House? Fat, dumb, and stupid is no way to be, or something like that. I mean, that's what we've got here with these politicians. It's no way to go through life. And we suffer for that. I say that the only way around this is a mass movement outside of the electoral process. I say that the only way is each one teach one. Work with these politicians, and if they listen, great. They're worth supporting. Throw your heart and soul behind a politician that understands how to pay for the programs they're claiming. But if they don't, you're setting this movement up for failure, because when they're unsuccessful, it just proves they were incompetent, and it makes us all look bad. I don't know what more to say than that. I don't know what more to say than that. If you want better, you must do better. You must do better. I'm not looking at them. I expect nothing from these guys and gals. Having talked to them, I realize the vast majority of them couldn't econ their way out of a paper bag, and it was soaking wet. They couldn't cut through wet toilet paper with econ. No joke. It's the most depressing thing in the world if you let it be. So it's going to take us taking matters into our own hands. Educating your politician, relentlessly so. Politely, whatever, but relentlessly teaching them. Relentlessly going after your media outlets that don't do this. Relentlessly going after politicians in your local communities who say the wrong thing. Now, mind you, I want to be real clear. The federal government, when it taxes, it uses it as a tool for inflation. It doesn't use that for revenue. Because at the federal level, it creates the money. It doesn't recycle dollars. Those dollars are spent once, and when they come back, they're deleted as a tax. But at your state and local levels, they are dependent on taxes, bonds, investments, and grants. So the tax base dries up when there's not enough money in the economy. And you only have two ways of getting money in the economy right now. One is the federal government spending it into it, which is what I'd prefer. And the other one is us going into private debt, which I would not prefer. Because we only can go into so much private debt before we stop being able to take on debt, and then the economy goes into recession. So I'm telling you right now, people ignore this message. They run off. They want to just go hang out at the local meet and greet. They want to talk about how the election was rigged. And they want to talk about all this other stuff. I don't care about that stuff right now, because what I care about is that you guys know what to demand. How can you expect better if you don't demand better? And do it for a long period of time, not just for a little teeny election cycle, but consistently. The same message. Without having, you don't need a leader. You don't need Bernie running out there telling you what to do. You don't need Jill telling you we'll win it with smiles. Hey, it'll pay for itself in smiles. No, you need each other, not me, us. And that stands. It will always stand. It will always be the truth. Because the same people you want to remove money from politics are the same people that have a vested interest in keeping money in politics. So that means that you've got to do something outside of politics to change it, because the system itself isn't going to do it for you. You want to end corruption. Well, the people that pass laws to end corruption are the same people that benefit from corruption. So asking them to change it without an outside, consistent, harsh pressure is just a fool's errand. It's up to us. Every one of us. And that means you might have to turn off the Kardashians. That means you might have to turn off the bullshit media. That means you might not be able to watch the Young Turks for a little while because they're just shilling. That means you might have to actually do something in your community. It means you may have to pick up the phone and make phone calls to each other to plan and activate and unite in different ways than waiting for the next Bernie Sanders to tell you, by the way, it's okay to have a revolution. You want to follow me? Let's go. No, you do it. It's us. Not me, us. And for real, I watch, it's amazing to me that whoever is orchestrating many of these marches about these other issues, these one-off issues, it amazes me that they're able to amass so many people at one time. I have no idea how they do it. None. Zero. But I'm going to find out. Because we need to have marches, and more than marches, we need to have actual direct action with people that never leave and never stop doing it. The same issue, the same thing, fighting consistently. And not getting bored. Oh, we got to change our strategy. We got to change our messaging because it didn't work in the first 5 minutes. Oh, wow, it didn't make it the first go-around, so we got to quit. Let's give up everything because we weren't successful the first time we tried. I'm bored. Let's go watch the Kardashians again. Let's go watch Teen Mom. Maybe we can watch Summer House and watch the drunks hang out, partying, and getting laid. Oh, yay, us. It really requires us building very, very good quality networks. I'd like to see that happen with real progressives. That's what my goal has always been. I'd like to see other people sharing that mission and want that too. I'd like to see people awake enough to see the folly of asking someone that's economically illiterate to be literate on economics. Teach them, damn it. Or stop making me chase ghosts. Stop making me get all excited about somebody that doesn't know their ass from their elbow. I mean, seriously. It's got to be at that point where you have got to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. These CFAR candidates. It's a great platform, right? It is. But you'll notice in the platform it doesn't say how to pay for it. It doesn't talk about the relationship of U.S. debt and deficits. I think the original guy, John Rachel, didn't understand economics either, maybe. But we do, right? We understand it. So It's unfortunate that we carry the burden of knowledge. But then, now that we do, we have the responsibility of delivering it. That's the way it works, guys and gals. You want change, it's on you. It's on us, not me, us. Stop looking for a hero. Stop worshiping politicians. Be your own hero. Be a part of something bigger than yourself. And let's make this thing happen, all right? Seriously. Facebook is screwing with us like you wouldn't believe. But we're the only game in town talking economics. We're the only fucking game in town talking economics. These other dipshits are running around just saying things. I'm not joking. They're unlistenable. I cannot listen to mainstream media or even alternative media because they don't know how to fucking pay for it. They just... Every single time Bernie talked about a plan during the primaries, Hillary said, well, how are you going to pay for it? Of course we got to pay for it. You think it's going to be different in 2020? Do you think in 2020 how we're going to pay for things isn't going to come up? Do you think in 2018 how we're going to pay for things isn't going to come up? It's going to be the same worthless, idiotic economic illiteracy that you've always heard, that has always failed, that will get you absolutely nothing, and it will be over and over and over again. I don't care if you're pulling for outside the duopoly. I'm telling you right now, when I hear the Green Party people talking about we're going to end the fractional reserve system. You mean you're going to waste my time listening to you talk about ending the fractional reserve system that doesn't even exist? Why aren't you talking about getting me Medicare for all? Why aren't you talking about getting a student debt relief? Why are you fucking wasting my time? We're going to democratize the dollar. We're going to green the dollar. Stop wasting our time. Stop wasting our time. I don't want your snake oil. I want a real progressive agenda. I'd say I want a Green New Deal, but I'm waiting for the Green New Deal to be telling me how to pay for it. I want to hear somebody boldly talk about how they're going to pay for it. But I don't hear that. I hear a lot of mousy gibberish, a lot of democratize the bullshit, a lot of platitudes and horse shittery. I'm not willing to buy it anymore, folks. I'm on the other side of the hill now, man. I'm looking at less life than I was before. I don't have a long journey ahead of me. I want things to be done now, and I want my kids to have a future. My son's got autism. I've talked about this before. If I die, I want to know that there are plans in place. I want to know there's systems in place. There's constructs in place to make sure that he is always taken care of. And yet we're going to green the dollar. We're going to democratize the dollar and the Fed. We're going to do this. What about real shit, man? How about real stuff? Well, we got to burn it down. I'm not a reformist. I'm a revolutionary. And I got to green the dollar. I'm going to green the dollar. I'm going to democratize the dollar. I am so fucking sick of moronic idiocy. I can't even fake it. I cannot fake cheering for candidates that don't know how to pay for it. I can't do it. I could try, but it would be a fraud, and I'm not a fraud. You see, I'd rather make enemies being right than go along to get along and be wrong. You see what I'm saying? I'd rather be true to me and be true to the real score than sitting there running around with my fist in the air about bullshit. That's the deal. That's the deal, folks. So when you see these CFAR candidates, when you see other candidates, and you see them running around and they're saying all these grand things, I know a lot of them have heard me talk about economics. I know a lot of them have heard from Stephanie Kelton. I know a lot of them have heard from other MMTers. They have been exposed. There is no excuse ever again that they don't get this. There is literally no excuse to not understand when the government can spend $700 billion without raising your taxes a nickel. They can spend $700 billion on the military in 1 year. And there's no corresponding tax hike. How is that possible? It's not possible unless you realize that taxes don't fund spending. But you'd have to be smarter than the average bear, because there's a lot of dull as spoons people out there that don't get it. They do not get it. They will not get it. They would rather every one of us die than acknowledge the fact that the military just got $700 billion for 1 year without any tax hikes. In fact, they did a massive tax cut. You would have to be the dumbest person on the face of the earth, bar none, to not get the fact that taxes do not fund federal spending. And if you care about your pensions at the state level, and if you care about your local communities, you're going to realize that those local communities and those state governments either have to borrow money for real, they have to go and raise taxes, they have to buy bonds or sell bonds or go into Wall Street and invest in these hedge funds and this, that, and the other. They've got to sell their soul to meet or beat their budget, because all of the states in the country have a balanced budget amendment, and rightly so, because they are not monetarily sovereign. Our states in this nation are like Greece. Our federal government, however, has the capability of supplementing all of this. And it does when it comes to the things like the military. But the minute you talk about taking care of the people, some shitbird starts talking about inflation and well, what about hard currency? What about fiscal responsibility? Spend $700 billion on the people. Stop putting it on the military. Why can't you spend $700 billion on the people? Hell, why can't you spend $2 trillion on the people? There's plenty of policy space there. And I'll tell you why. Because these congressional and these Senate candidates don't know how to fund the fucking programs they claim that they support. Roseanne DeMauro, Nurses Union. Ask her if taxes fund spending. She's out there rushing around, and I like her. And she retweeted some of Stephanie Kelton's stuff. But ask yourself, is she telling people that we got to raise taxes to pay for stuff? How about Robert Reich? Is Robert Reich running around telling people that if we cut taxes that suddenly the nation will be bankrupt? How about Paul Krugman? How about all these snake oil salespeople? It doesn't take a rocket scientist. It's not the pieces of paper that are scarce. It's the real resources that are scarce. We can make the money anytime we want. Even Alan Greenspan savat kicked Paul Ryan about Social Security. He's like, Social Security can never go broke, doofus. It has nothing to do with what you paid into it. That is their way of making you feel ownership for it. But it's not paying for anything. They delete that money just like they delete anything. They don't keep it in an old piggy bank with old 1919 pennies and old crumpled up old silver certificates and stuff. No. It's all new money, and that's the problem. People don't understand. They say, what are you going to do, print more money? And the reality is every fucking dollar, not some, every single dollar the government spends on Social Security, every single dollar the government spends on Medicare, every single dollar the government spends on the military is all brand new dollars. Every bit of it. Every single time. And every single time it receives a dollar, a digit, a shiny object on a computer screen, and it deletes it, that's the end of a dollar's existence. Dollars are not permanent. They delete, they come to life, they go back to sleep, they die, they go back. This is how it works. It's a circuit. People should get this in spades. It's so fucking easy. A caveman can get it. My children get it. You can get it. The government, when the Congress writes a bill, these people that were begging to, oh, please run for office. Oh, I can't wait. Here's a sign. I love you. I love you. How do you spend it? Congress will appropriate the money. And then how does that money, do you make sure you don't just keep growing the money? How do you do that? You tax away a little bit of it. If the economy overheats, you raise taxes. If the economy is struggling, you lower taxes. You spend money on the people. Taxes don't pay for anything. Taxes literally don't pay for anything at the federal level. They're a tool against inflation, nothing more. They drive the currency. Because, see, this is how it works. If some snapperhead wanted you to trade in diamonds and gold and friggin' oyster shells and, pubic hair or chicken necks, I don't care. Whatever the new currency of the day is, shitcoin. It's not going to be shitcoin, by the way. But let's just say, all of a sudden, one of these things comes up. The reason why it will never take over is because the U.S. dollar is driven by taxes. You don't pay your taxes, you go to jail. They take your house from you. They garnish your wages. You better have money to pay your taxes, right? So you've got to chase that dollar. The dollar is always going to hold its value. And it's not just its value, because the government is the price setter. It's the monopoly issue of the currency. It can tell the banks you can't do this anymore. The banks would have to stop. No power the banks have is any power they could have without the blessing of Congress. You understand this? If you don't understand this, that's a real serious problem. There's a deficit in your understanding of the way shit works. Digital currency is not currency at all. It's a fucking nothing. It's a commodity. It's like pork bellies. Hey, I want to buy some smokes with my pork bellies. It's not real currency, and it will never, ever, ever, because you cannot pay your taxes at the federal level in Bitcoin. Why is that? Because taxes, the reason for tax, is to drive the need for the currency. It's not just to collect money, because the government doesn't need money. It creates money. It needs you to need its money. So it taxes you in its money. And if you have 1 million Bitcoin and they decide to tax you, they're going to make you turn your Bitcoin into dollars. And then they're going to delete the dollars. They're not worried about your Bitcoin. Your Bitcoin's nothing. The fair value of Bitcoin is zero. Nada. It's zilch. It's a commodity. It's not a currency. So here's the problem. All the LOL libertarians, all the edgy cool guy anarchists, the techno anarchists, the crypto anarchists, the friggin' fascists, all the weirdos, the funky bunch. They all think somehow or another that this is going to bring the dollar down, but the dollar reigns because it must be collected in taxes or you will go to jail. And if you own a house or you own anything, they will find a way to tax that to keep the currency as the primary mover for the economy. And this is the way it is in Japan. This is the way it is in the UK. It's the way it is in Australia. It's the way it is in Canada. It's the way it is in China. Okay? And these coolios that don't understand anything about economics. When I say anything, I mean, I'm talking about they know nothing. They know nothing. They know microeconomics. They don't know macroeconomics. And because they don't know macro, they confuse micro and macro, and that makes the macro people crazy because they're the adults in the room. Macroeconomics is about state governments spending, making sure we have the right flows. We need flows. We need to have the proper flows in the economy. And the problem is that right now all the flows are funneling up to the top, and they're not coming down here. That's the whole trickle-down idea, right? Some asshole said that what we're advocating is trickle-down. Explain to me how spending on the people is trickle-down. Please hook a brother up. I'm down, man. I want to hear all about it. Tell me how starting at the bottom is trickling it down. You have to be utterly devoid of any kind of cognition to think that. You literally can't have a heartbeat or any kind of electronic synapses firing in the brain to think that spending on the bottom is somehow or another trickle down. It takes an inept brain to think that. Something so vapid and vacuous, you have to wonder if it's human or if it's a troll. It's got to be something other than a human to think that. You can't be a human and think that if you spend at the bottom, it's trickle down. It is devoid of any kind of reason. So let's see. You do not understand what you're talking about. Oh my God, we got some jackwad. You do not understand what you're talking about with crypto if you think it has nothing behind it. Oh, Tommy, I got to pretend like I don't know anything so you can feel like a good guy today. All right. Anyway, the bottom line is that state currency is the only way that you're getting student debt elimination. I'm hoping that this guy over here that's talking crypto can tell me how his crypto is going to get us green energy while it's busy creating major environmental problems by freaking cranking out the BTUs with all these computers around mining coins. Because I tell you what, it's not his concern. He doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit about the environment. All he cares about is his shit coin. And tell me how your shit coin is going to give us free college. Oh, it can't. So you don't care about that. You're another piker, what they call a low budget little investor class person, another capitalist. You're not sitting there fighting for the people. And that's the problem I always have with these people that don't understand state currency. They end up sidelining a movement. They end up sidelining people from the fray because they don't understand. If I invest in pork bellies, I don't think the dollar is going down because I've invested in pork bellies. If I buy gold, I don't think the US dollar is going down because I've bought gold. They're not the same thing. They're commodities. And the day you can pay your taxes in crypto, let me know. Let me know. Please, I'll be waiting on the court. And what I mean by that is not that you can pay it and they'll go ahead and delete the dollars in the back end. I'm telling you point blank, the day you say, well, I've got 5,000 Bitcoins, I'm going to buy a house for, or buy that car over there for 38,000 Bitcoins. No, it's going to be $38,000 worth of Bitcoins. Why is that? Because it is a commodity. It's like, I got $38,000 worth of baseball cards. I got $38,000 worth of Franklin Mint coins. I got $38,000 worth of bricks in my yard. I got $38,000 worth of pine trees in my backyard. I got $38,000 worth of tissues for crying over people that don't understand the difference between a commodity and a currency. And I got 38,000 times that I'm going to sit there and say this probably because people choose to be edgy and cool and think somehow or another they figured something out that we don't know about. I had Brett Scott on here, and for those of you who don't know who Brett Scott is like one of the big fintech gurus of the world. The guy travels all over the globe. He's all over the place. He was on this show talking about not just crypto, but Bitcoin and all the other different versions. And he was talking about the underlying technology of blockchain, which has many different uses. And if you go into investing in one of these things, knock yourself out. I'm not here to dissuade you. You do what you want. But don't you dare sideline a movement thinking somehow or another buying Bitcoin is getting you Medicare for all. And don't you dare tell anybody that you think Bitcoin is getting you free college for all. And for the love of God, don't you dare tell them that somehow or another you're going to get the entire nation's infrastructure from a D grade up to an A grade with your shitcoin. Because it's not the same thing. And this is a problem with many of these LOL libertarian anarcho-capitalists that don't care about helping people. They're caring about their little portfolio. Knock yourself out, capitalist. You do your thing. You get your swerve on. But as for me and my house, I'm talking about a revolution for people to actually get their needs taken care of. Not one person at a time, Ayn Rand style. Good for you. Fuck you. I got mine. I'm talking about legitimate public purpose. A federal job guarantee. Well, let me go ahead and buy some shitcoin. That'll get us a federal job guarantee. Oh, yeah, shitcoin. Yeah, federal job guarantee. Guaranteed right there with shitcoin. Crazy. Crazy as fuck. They don't get the difference. And that's a shame. So you got to kind of put them over here on the corner and focus on the people that do want to have an actual revolution in terms of getting the services. A new deal for the people. A new deal for the people. And I'm telling you right now, this is serious stuff. This is serious stuff. I'm not telling you don't do investing. Invest in whatever you want to do, man. It's a free country, right? Invest in whatever you want. Knock yourself out. But stop conflating your investment portfolio with a new deal. Because it only makes you look a fool. So back to the candidates, and I'm going to close this out. If your candidates don't understand this, they're going to be sidelining you, chasing after candidates that can't actually implement anything. And it requires us on the outside making sure they know how to do it. Folks, if you understand what I'm talking about, great. If you have read this stuff, better. If you haven't, quick overview. Then I'm going to close out. Warren Mosler, Randall Wray, Bill Mitchell, Matt Forstater, Stephanie Kelton, Pavlina Tcherneva, and several others went heads down learning and writing academic papers, doing the research, and understanding what our economic system looks like since the Bretton Woods Accord ended in 1971. Something massive changed in 1971. We went off the gold standard. We were on a sovereign, free-floating, non-convertible fiat currency. Fiat meaning by decree, by the state, by the sovereign. And in that moment, something very, very dramatic changed. We were no longer pegged to gold, so that meant we could spend. We're now backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. Not gold, not oil, not chicken necks, not smiles, not the military, but the full faith and credit, everything that we've got. So we have the ability to spend on what the people need. And as long as we're not at full employment, and as long as we have real resources that are being left idle, and we're misallocating those resources, or underallocating and not using them, like employment, people sitting around underemployed doing things that are not to their potential, we will not have inflation. Not real inflation. We might have individual price inflation on various things because there is not enough of that resource. And the big one that everybody wants to go back to is oil. If we get this economic game right and we get green energy, oil will not have the inflationary, it won't be that rogue strain of screwing up the economy that it is today, because everything is powered with oil right now. Every factory, every dam, all these things are run by some sort of fossil fuel. You want to fuck with the economy, fuck with oil. But it has nothing to do with the dollar. You understand this? It's got to do with the real resource, access to the real resource. Has nothing to do with the dollar. Has nothing to do with the yen. Has nothing to do with the pound. Has nothing to do with the ruble. Has nothing to do with the yuan. Okay? Has nothing to do with the euro. It has everything to do with the fact that it is a real resource that touches everything from butter and, Vaseline to car grease to gasoline, you name it. And if you don't have that, the world stops running. So it has nothing to do with our money. It has everything to do with access to a resource. If we break free of that resource and we are no longer dependent on that resource, it no longer will have the same impact on our economy. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what would happen in this country if people actually understood economics instead of Tales from the Fire Pit or Tales from Alex Jones' library? Can you imagine what a movement would be like if we really understood and demanded better? Imagine if people didn't come around here. It's like they're almost like a paid troll talking about the petrodollar. They come in the door. Let me tell you about the petrodollar. I'm going to tell you something you never heard before, man. Yeah, let me tell you. Put a pinch between my cheek and gum. I'm going to tell you about the petrodollar. Let me go hunt a deer and then go tell you about the petrodollar. Let me get my skull. I'm going to tell you about the petrodollar, boy. Let me tell you about the petrodollar. It's like, dude, you think we just woke up, man? Oh, my God, please do tell me about the petrodollar. Shit, I've never heard about the petrodollar. Please enlighten me. Tell me all about the petrodollar. I mean, that really is the kind of stuff that just absolutely sends my blood pressure through the frickin' roof. It's like a Bugs Bunny thing. You see the thing, mercury going up. That's what happens when I hear that nonsense. So our candidates, you see why our candidates don't do any better. Let me tell you about the petrodollar, boy. Pinch between the cheek and gum. Go deer hunting. Gonna clean me a deer. Got me a 30-06. Let me tell you about the petrodollar. I mean, it gets old, and it gets old fast. At what point in time do you want to save lives? Because it's up to you to go to these candidates and to talk to one another to change the narrative. And you got to care enough about people to do that. If you're a selfish bastard and you're just one of these people that wants to talk petrodollars, knock yourself out. But lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. Anyway, I'm Steve Grumbine. I'm going to go to bed. It's supposed to snow tonight. Hopefully everybody is safe. Hopefully nobody has to drive in this mess out here. I'm going to try and get my sleep on. Hopefully you guys learned something tonight, and hopefully you understand how important it is that we go out and really, truly invite and educate people and really work with each other to make this change happen. Because it's not going to happen on its own. As you see, there's these troll bots that come from Alex Jones' Foot Locker. Or is that Davy Jones' locker? Whatever, it's the same thing, right? Both are myths and legends. And they're going to come in here waxing poetic about the petrodollar. So we're going to have to go ahead and just pat them on the head, thank them for their time, and keep moving on. And try to keep making sure that people get help now. We don't have a million years. I know I don't. I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives. Hoping you have a great night tonight. Take care.